So I have a question. So from America First perspective, why do we give $3.8 billion to Israel, which is more aid than we've given to Africa, more aid than we've given to South America, and more aid than we've given to the Caribbean combined, which is home to 1 billion poor people, especially when they deliberately attacked the USS Liberty in the 1970s.
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event. That is not acceptable. Do not say that.
Okay, Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine. And then the second part is also, you have the Apollo incident in which they illegally stole weapons-grade uranium. The CIA has reports on this.
Anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic
No, I'm not
rhetoric.
anti-Israel. I'm just asking from America First perspective because it's not in our interest. They act against our
Remember the short
interest.
question part?
Sure. I mean, how is it in our interest that we give this money to Israel?
All right, so it's required that they have to buy American weaponry. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully practice. It's the only country in the Middle East where all three monotheistic religions are represented in their government. It's the only place in the Middle East that has any appreciation for LGBT rights whatsoever. It's the only country in the Middle East that doesn't throw homosexuals off the top of buildings when they find them. It is the only partner that we have in the fight against radical Islamic terrorism. And the subtext of your narrative could be extrapolated to say, well, why on earth would we have a partner like Israel? Guess what? The world's a better place because of Israel.
I never myself accepted the Israeli purported explanation. Accidents don't occur through repeated attacks by surface vessels and by aircraft. It obviously was a decision taken pretty high up on the Israeli side.
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event.
A lot of it, we believe, was covered up. That it was an intentional act by Israel to sink the ship with all hands, no survivors.
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event.
They shouldn't be called an ally. They don't deserve it.
Why do you think they would have bombed the ship?
Their next plan was to attack the Golan Heights. So the troops they had on the Sinai now had to be moved to take the Golan Heights. The fact that the Israelis were massacring Egyptian troops, Egyptian prisoners of war. They had so many of them, and once again, they wanted to move all the troops they could to the Syrian border, and they couldn't handle the Egyptian prisoners of war. So they massacred them.
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event.
George Ball, the brilliant and courageous Undersecretary of State at the time of the '67 war, wrote about the attack on the Liberty subsequently. He said, "The ultimate lesson of the Liberty attack was that it had far more effect on policy in Israel than in America. Israel's leaders concluded that nothing they might do would offend the Americans to the point of reprisal. If America's leaders did not have the courage to punish Israel for the blatant murder of American citizens, it seemed clear that their American friends would let them get away with almost anything."
Guess what? The world's a better place because of Israel.
So I have a question. So from America First perspective, why do we give $3.8 billion to Israel, which is more aid than we've given to Africa, more aid than we've given to South America, and more aid than we've given to the Caribbean combined?
I was wondering, what kind of thoughts did you have this morning at the ceremony at Arlington, when they did the ceremony? What kind of thoughts came up for you?
The thoughts that always come back to us time and time again is how this thing is still being covered up after 40 years. And we know without doubt from the circumstances that it was a deliberate attack. Anyone who looks carefully at the details knows that it was deliberate, and that includes such people as Dean Rusk, as Secretary of State, and all of the heads of all of the intelligence organizations.
Walking through the graveyard trying to find his skipper, Richard Brooks returns almost every year to the National Cemetery in Arlington to remember his shipmates and mark the anniversary of the attack which killed 34 of them.
When they said stand by to receive torpedo hit, and it picked up the ship, and the ship started rolling over, I said, I'll never get out of this mess alive. Weird things were running through your mind because I chalked myself off. I said, I'll never get out of this.
Chief Engineer Brooks was below deck when the USS Liberty was attacked. A spy ship, it was sitting in international waters flying the US flag when Israel attacked. It was hit with rockets and cannons and missiles. Then torpedoes blew a hole in the side of the ship. Listing badly, it managed to sail out of immediate danger. 171 sailors were injured. Israel claimed it was a case of mistaken identity, that Liberty looked like an Egyptian warship. It apologized and paid compensation, but Richard Brooks doesn't accept that.
It wasn't a tragic accident. It was a deliberate attack. They knew who we were. They wanted us out, either to bring the Americans into the war, or we picked up some information about their war plans.
We were overflown several times during the morning of June the 8th by Israeli aircraft. At least 8 times, 8 different occasions that we were overflown. And the reason they were doing that is to make sure that they knew exactly where all of our transmitting antennas were, so when they attacked, they could knock us out. Now, the excuses the Israelis give, well, they didn't see a flag. Excuse me, they shot down 2 flags, and we ran up 3. The 3rd flag that we ran up was our holiday flag. That's the largest flag you have aboard ship. They claim, well, we couldn't see a flag because of smoke. Well, there wasn't any smoke until the Israelis dropped napalm on us. They claim that they thought that we were an Egyptian ship, the El Qasir, which is a World War I horse carrier, had not been to sea for 20 years and was waiting to be cut up for scrap. Well, there's some problems with that excuse also. Number one, U.S. ships are painted gray with white markings. Our hallmark was GTR-5. That's your ship's license plate. GTR-5 stands for General Technical Research, the 5th ship of her class, the largest and newest ship of her class. General Technical Research means she's a non-combatant, and non-combatants are not legitimate military targets. I mentioned U.S. ships are painted gray with white markings. Egyptian ships are painted black with gray markings, and those hallmarks are in Arabic script. Big difference. And nobody from Israel can give me the excuse that they don't know the difference between English markings and Arabic script. All highway signs in Israel are marked in Arabic.
Still betrayed by our government and for the cover-up, and the Israeli government for covering it up.
I'm alive from the USS Liberty. I served on that ship in 1967 when it was attacked by the Israelis, supposedly by accident, in neutral waters off the Sinai Peninsula. 34 of my crewmen were killed and 171 wounded. It's now 50 years later. I'm still alive, and it's Memorial Day, and I always think about the men who died, and I still see some of the crewmen. We were attacked by Mirage jets. They strafed us and dropped napalm, and there was 4 torpedo boats, Israeli torpedo boats, circling us, and they fired 5 torpedoes total. 1 hit. We had a hole in the side of the ship, 50 feet by 30 feet roughly. We had, for weapons on our ship, 50 caliber machine guns. 2 forward and 1 2 midship. All the men in those gun mounts were killed. And the torpedo hit in the communication spaces, and many men died wounded from there, supposedly by an accident. I don't believe it was an accident. We intercepted a lot of messages that Israel had sent, and some that were highly classified at the time, and were sent further to our government, who in turn acted or didn't act on what we said. And I know the Israelis, this is my opinion, planned the attack on us, and they know it too, and I believe our government knows it too. So if anybody wants to do anything about it, you know right where I live, and if not, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks.